Welcome to the HR Tech Spotlight Podcast. I'm Deanna Shimoda, CEO of Growth Mode Marketing. The HR technology market is crowded, and we know it can be hard to find the best software solutions for your business in the sea of sameness. On this podcast, we shine a spotlight on some of the best up-and-coming technology options out there. Check it out if you are interested in learning about new innovative solutions available in the market. And if you are with an HR tech company and interested in being considered for a guest spot, stay tuned for details at the end of the show. Hello. In this episode, we are shining a light on Cappfinity, a skills-based hiring and talent mobility solution. Cappfinity partners with clients to place candidates and employees in positions where they can use their skills and strengths to deliver value and meet business objectives. Combining unique data insights and technology, this is achieved with online assessments, virtual job simulations, robust candidate reports, fast and fair talent matching, hiring, upskilling, leadership development, and internal mobility solutions and services. Here to discuss Cappfinity is my guest, Nicky Garcea, co-founder and president of the company. Welcome to the show, Nicky.
Hi, great to be here.
So tell us about your background in the HR tech space.
So I've been working in HR tech for probably the last 20 some years, and obviously seen a whole lot of change in that time. My background is actually as a industrial psychologist. So I'm a chartered psychologist. And I find that background right now, bringing behavioral science and technology and AI together, is fusing into making things incredibly interesting. So part technologist, part psychologist.
So let's talk a little bit about Cappfinity. Tell us in your own words what you do.
So Cappfinity, you did a great introduction, by the way. Thank you. So Cappfinity provides to organizations globally a combination of pre-skilling, hiring solutions, onboarding solutions, and then development programs and potential and leadership programs. So we're working across the employee life cycle, and we work very much with global businesses, but they're not all large corporates. So we will also work with organizations like the United Nations. In the UK, we work with the National Health Service. So a real range of businesses work with Cappfinity. Over the last 18 years that we have been in business, our focus has also been around hiring and developing for skills. And our approach to that is very much to focus on the behavioral and the human skills, not just the cognitive and the technical. And we are very much focused on helping organizations both start by identifying what those human skills are, but also then in how they hire and develop the individuals that they might recruit or promote or just develop day to day. We want to help people understand which of those skills is a strength. And to do that, we're always looking not just can you perform that skill, but are you motivated to demonstrate that skill? And we know from our kind of years of research that when we can get that combination, we get greater diversity of pipeline, but also the individual themselves experiences greater well-being. They're able to give more of themselves. So that's what we focus on day to day at Cappfinity.
And I know you are one of the co-founders. Tell us the story around why you founded Cappfinity.
So I was working as a psychologist, business psychologist, and I would develop processes that focus quite a lot on then competencies, helping people identify their strengths and weaknesses. And my experience was people were very, very interested on where they were weak. And often when I tried to guide the conversation to talk about their strengths, people would either say, I don't want to know about that, or they'd feel quite emotional. It was not kind of a regular conversation. And in parallel to that experience, a whole area of psychology referred to as positive psychology was growing. And in the US, Martin Seligman was a huge and continues to be a very kind of forefront and founder of the positive psychology movement. And in the UK, there was an emerging individual, Alex Linley, who was working on strengths. He was very kind of dominant in Europe. He'd just done his PhD. And essentially, circumstances combined that Alex and I met a couple of times. I talked to him about really wanting to bring kind of practical applications of strengths and skills into the workplace. And he talked at great length about his academic research. And walking from a conference one day, I said to Alex, what would it be like to build a organization from a skills perspective? And he said, well, actually, I've been thinking about doing that. Shall we try? And that walk to the station from a conference was essentially how we decided to form Cappfinity. So yes, lots of serendipity.
I can so relate to that. You know, I have a similar story with how I started my business, which we'll have to talk about a different time.
I'll do a podcast. You can come on and you can tell the
Yeah,
story. I
there we
look
go.
forward to that.
So, Nikki, what is the big challenge or problem that you see facing HR departments today?
I think there are multiple things. I think if we look at how 2023 has panned out for particularly talent acquisition, we've got leaner teams. There's been a lot of movement globally. And I think with that leanness and slight displacement, people are starting to kind of consider, what do we do with artificial intelligence? How do we bring in efficiency? How do we still deliver good service? So I think TA as a whole function has had a real kind of stir up, particularly when you think in the post-pandemic, it was the most desired role. And actually, there's been a lot of churn in that space and layoffs and things. I do think now as we go into 2024, that we're seeing a appreciation again of those teams and actually something of a rebuilding, reigniting. So I feel very positive about 24-25. I do think, however, and at HR Tech, Josh Burson talked about kind of supercharged teams and supercharged HR when you bring the technology and the human element together. I think that's a massive opportunity as we go forward to really understand as HR individuals, where can we now add the greatest value? And in adding that value, what skills do we bring that complement maybe some of the technological changes and advancements that we're going to see? And I think that could be an incredibly exciting future for HR individuals, because the people agenda has never been so strong as it is at C-suite right now. We know we need to focus on people, individuals, well-being. So TA and L&D have a huge part to play in that. I think the one thing for all of us, particularly when you think of individuals who are working in HR tech, attended the conference in Vegas last week, is as we appreciate and start to bring in artificial intelligence into more of the roles and all aspects of digitalization, that's not necessarily where we've all come from. And we're going to need to be able to have enough people around us to audit, to think about the ethical side of the things that we're going to be able to implement. And I think in a world where that doesn't have one regulatory home, we're going to have to combine forces, share information, and kind of hold ourselves accountable as we bring the kind of HR human skills and the technology together.
I think that's some really good perspective. And, as you and I probably both saw at the HR technology conference, AI was the big theme this year. I swear every other booth was talking about it, and it'll be really interesting to see how things move forward in the industry from that perspective. I know I just saw an article, I don't remember which publication put it out, but it was an HR tech magazine that was talking about AI technology and how right now all the HR tech vendors are riding the wave, because it's suddenly, with the rise of Chat GPT, even though AI was not new in this space, all of a sudden it became front and center, and everyone's trying to, kind of glom onto that because now people are really interested in it. But as we move forward, because some companies rush to plug it into their technology, that there may end up being this kind of whiplash with it, that it won't work as well as people intended in some instances. And so the HR buy-in community may start to push back eventually. So it'll be really interesting to see, you know, who excels at it and where there are drawbacks, because it's, you know, it's still a technology that's evolving. And, you know, as organizations are trying to figure out how to make it work to their benefit, there's also, like you said, you know, the concern about ethics and regulations and those different things. So definitely an interesting topic.
And I think I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I also think Josh Bersin in his keynote at HR Tech made a very valuable point, and it's an incredibly simple one, which is, what do you want the AI? Like, what problem is it solving? As opposed to just being kind of slightly blinded by the solution or the sense that somebody else has tried that vendor, we must kind of jump on board. And I think one of the things that is, and you might see this in your world as well, is you can go to conferences and you can listen to keynotes and you can speak to analysts, and it sounds like AI in HR is really far advanced. And then when you stand in front of folks right at the delivery point of AI and talent acquisition, you know, today, I was in front of a group in London this week, and they basically came up to me afterwards and they were like, we really enjoyed your talk, but do you know that how hard it is to bring AI in when you've got multiple systems, multiple applicant tracking? Somebody might have asked you to pilot something, but it's not actually helping you. It's hindering you how you do your day job. And I think there's this big dose of reality of actually the integration in the day-to-day lives. I think we'll get there. But right now, I think we're at the absolute kind of meeting point of let's try it. But we've still can't, like, we can't down tools and not deliver our recruitment cycle. We've got to maybe pilot this AI alongside business as usual. And I think that is where people might walk away if it doesn't get a bit easier.
Yeah, I can totally see that. So, you know, speaking of conferences, it's always a good reminder of how competitive the space is. You know, there was probably 400 booths at the HR Technology Conference alone, and that was only a teeny tiny fraction of the industry. But you could see, walking booth to booth, that there's a lot of different companies that often do the same thing or solve the same problem in different ways. What is your company's unique point of view in the market, or what differentiates you from some of the other solutions that may tackle some of the same HR challenges?
I think there's probably two things, and I spoke to this a little bit in the introduction to Cappfinity. One is we've been in the measurement of skills for a long time. So we're very clear on what those human skills are, and we've got decades of data to be able to show what they are. So we will often start with a skills audit based on these pre-validated skills. We have over 80 skills, but we don't have 4,000. We've got kind of a narrower set of human skills that we start off with when we're creating skills frameworks for organizations. There's also then this piece around looking at that skill with the range of products that we have through the lens of both the, can you deliver on it, can you perform, but also, are you motivated? Is being recruited into something from a skills perspective actually going to give you a job you love? Are you going to get energy from that promotion that you're looking for? So very, very much we're focused on this methodology part of both performance and motivation. And then the other piece that we've worked really hard on as a business is that the products that we are providing individuals with are helping to measure behavior and identify skills in the context of the job that you might be applying for. So if right now you're a graduate in the UK and you want to go and learn about Deloitte, then you can go on to their website and look at a tool we've created that is a matching product, but it looks like Deloitte, and it's Deloitte's skills and values that are matching you to roles in that business. If you go on to apply, you'll go on to a skills-based online assessment, but it's talking to you about the jobs in Deloitte. And again, to speak to something that Josh said last week, which is skills are not identical within every single company. You could have two oil companies, they could have identical job families, one's underperforming, one's overperforming, they're not the same skills. And that's something that we're really trying to deliver at Cappfinity, and those skills audit, differentiating the skills, but also then in the look and feel of the product, that actually we're going to measure those skills and develop those skills in the context of your culture and your environment. And I think that's probably our kind of greatest differentiation.
Who is the perfect fit for Cappfinity?
Oh, it's a great question. I think that we are unusual because we span quite a wide audience. So we're very prominent in recruiters who are recruiting early career individuals globally. We also do a lot of work in the space of identifying potential for individuals internally and people who want to identify future leaders. So that typically are the buckets we span, both in hiring, and then the development and the mobility is in those three areas.
And what impact have you seen organizations that work with Cappfinity experience?
Really, from the very, very early days, what we discovered was taking this approach that was skills-led, helped organizations to diversify their pipelines of talent, both in hiring and who they went on to develop. So across the years that we've been working, we've got data where we've got more women applying and being recruited into technology roles. We have greater ethnic diversity within roles which typically you wouldn't see that diversity. So technology, again, has fared really well from skills-based approaches and not just focused on kind of technical coding skills. And then we also see in roles like accountancy, greater exam performance, greater retention, all from the perspective of hiring with this human and skills lens. So the results for us, for organizations, have been about diversifying pipelines, time to competence has been quicker, greater retention levels. But I would just call out the benefit to the individuals that we see, which is often, if I'm in a role where I get to use my skills and I'm motivated to develop, then I'm going to be better able to cope with stress. I'll report higher engagement, higher well-being as well. So it does appear that these approaches are genuinely, and it sounds like a cliche, but good for business and good for the individual.
As we look ahead, what is the future vision for Cappfinity?
As we go into 24-25, we are really excited about the bringing more skills products to market. We're also developing our talent management focus more. So some of the work that we've been doing to date in the pre-skilling and upskilling space will now be launched, similar technology in onboarding, some lovely upskilling portals for leaders, for high potential individuals. So really spanning out this capacity to both recruit and develop for skills in a much, much broader way, and getting into bigger groups as well. And then for volume recruiters, a whole suite of skills that relate to occupations that will be readily available and will also be plugged into multiple ATSs. So really easy access to skills-based solutions at all levels of both hiring and development.
What would you say is the biggest hesitation that you see companies have with implementing a solution like yours?
I think for some organizations to focus more on the behavior and human skills, it sometimes feels like you're walking away from more traditional things that you might have seen in a job description or resume. So it's not just about my technical competence, it's not just about my past experience. And typically resumes have been screened on that basis. People have been screened in and out of jobs on that basis. So there's definitely an element of having to give people data, give people reassurance that behavioral skills will benefit them in both the hiring and the development process. I think that still creates hesitancy. But I do think that's changing as people are seeing the results of taking those approaches. I also think that in this landscape where you have lots of options, having to really consider solutions which are going to kind of complement your existing technology. Is integration easy? Can I make sure that candidates get feedback reports? All of those things, access to data, all of those things are things that we've worked on, but absent that create great hesitancy. So it's both, I think, the ease of the solution, and then also a belief that we don't have to recruit and develop as we have done historically.
Awesome. So what final thoughts do you want to leave our audience with?
I think, I guess in summary of the things that we've discussed here, I think that there is for anyone wondering, would they take a different approach to recruitment and development? I'd want to say that the results and the capacity to have a very agile workforce by taking a view of skills, both in hiring and development, we've got great evidence now to show that that will give you kind of agility, good internal mobility. It's also much easier to implement than it ever has been with things like skills audits. You can get frameworks and be up and running incredibly quickly. And I also think that it's critical, as I said at the start, as we start to think about really kind of getting the best of technology and AI and skills-based work together, that we need to be able to work together as a profession to ensure that you have vendors that are auditable, that are transparent, and certainly in the US right now are going to meet all of the regulations that you have around the EEOC and the increasing number of kind of state and city laws that's coming into recruitment. So there's very exciting times ahead, but we have to be really thoughtful in the choices that we make as we go forward.
So my last question, where can our listeners go to learn more about Cappfinity?
So definitely go to our website, which is www.cappfinity.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn at Nicky Garcea at LinkedIn. And I post quite prolifically. So please have a look at the website and come and follow me.
I love it. And for those listening, be sure to check out Cappfinity and Nicky to learn more. We will include the links in the show notes. And Nicky, it was so great to catch up with you today. Thanks for being a guest on the HR Tech Spotlight.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me on.
All right. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you. No, thank you for having
digging
me.
in a little bit. Yeah, it was great to meet you. So just so you know, next steps, what I will do is send the files off to my production team, who will go through the episode, add the intro and the outro onto it, create a couple thumbnails. And once it is published, I will reach out to you and let you know. We will promote it to our audience. You are, of course, welcome to promote it to your audiences as well. And if you have any interest in the raw files, let me know. I can send those over. Your team is welcome to slice and dice it up, take clips from it, turn it into your own podcast, whatever you want to do with it, fair game. Part of creating this, I'm a marketer. I like to help people get more leverage and build out their digital footprints. So I think it's a value to be able to take someone else's files and use them to your own advantage.
Yeah, thank you. We would definitely love to do that. And if at any point you want to share more with me about what you do, really happy to hear as well, because I appreciate the support in putting this together.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that too, and I would love to schedule a call just to network. I mean, I know a lot of people in the industry, and if I can make introductions for you or even just throw you some ideas that your team can run with from a marketing standpoint, I'm happy to do that. I have the privilege of working with a lot of different HR tech companies from a marketing perspective. So I've seen the challenges of how crowded this market is and how hard it is to build that brand awareness, and definitely have some thoughts on things that companies can do to kind of break through that clutter.
That's brilliant. Oh, that would be lovely to hear. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Sounds good. I'll shoot you a calendar link just as a follow-up for us to pick a time to reconnect. And like I said,
Brilliant.
once the episode's ready, I will also shoot you a note over and we'll start promoting it.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, Nikki.
Bye. Bye bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the HR Tech Spotlight Podcast, where we showcase some of the best up-and-coming HR technology options in the market. If you are an HR tech company leader who would like to be considered for a guest spot on this program, please contact me via growthmodemarketing.com or reach out to me, Deanna Shimoda, on LinkedIn. And if you found this show informative, subscribe, connect with us on social media, and leave a review. This is Deanna with Growth Mode Marketing signing off. Thanks for listening. We hope you'll tune in again next time.